sort of your meeting process. But I was just wondering, just a little bit. Say, for example, if I was a new client and I just typed in into your email, on your website, hi, I'm interested, on your offering. What kind of happens in those spaces between like me sending that email and then leading up to that first meeting, if that makes sense? Like, maybe you can explain, and I'll just ask some more questions.
Yeah. No, so Ben, what we would first do is just have a chat, obviously ideally in person. We would get them in, but if that's not possible because of location or because of COVID, then we would do it online. And we just really have a chat and what we try and do then is try and explain that we have a process, why we have a process. And, it's not easy, but we kind of asking the client to trust us, to go through this process with us. They can disengage at any time. And what we do is we just find out a little bit more about them. In other words, like why they've made contact. What's the problem? Is there like a glaring issue that they need dealt with immediately? And then just generally a little bit about them.
So if I send the email, do then you then phone me back and ask, like, sort of have a little chat and then get me to come in, or do you respond with an email and say, we'd love to meet you, click on Calendly link to book a time? Or I'm just trying to get the.
Yeah, so we would probably, if they emailed us, we would probably email. If they called, we would probably call them. We'd speak to them. So Catherine would take that call up front, and then the call would probably come through to me, and then it would be, or if I was busy, Catherine would take a message, or try and set up that first meeting, which is really just a coffee chat. We haven't started using Calendly yet. I think it's great. I think it's something we probably would do, but we haven't really marketed online. We haven't kind of been using anything to like drive clients to us, which is something we are going to explore. But yeah, it's really just trying to build a little bit of rapport with a person, find out if there's common ground, if we can help them, because often, as we know, the expectation of what we do is very different. We had a client the other day who was referred to us. She's a psychiatrist going to private practice, leaving the government, and the person who referred her works at a bank, and she needs to do something with the pension money. So eventually, when I emailed her, she came back and she said, "Oh, she's got a quote from Sanlam. Can we do the same?" So I said, "Look, we don't work that way." And I tried to explain it's more than that. And she eventually came back and said, "Look, she's got a quote from someone else, and she's going to meet with her husband's broker, and she doesn't need financial advice." So that's fine. I mean, you've got to accept. The way I look at it is that those people don't know what they don't know because of what our industry's put out there. So it's very difficult to sell that, because because all I was trying to sell is, let's just have a chat online or in person. Let's just have a chat so we can see each other, meet each other. If someone's not prepared to do that, then, because I said to you, I can also point you directly. You can do this yourself far cheaper. Just go to 10X or Signia or whoever, Alan Gray. But it was interesting that was her response. But you can't take that personally, because she's coming from where she's coming from.
Cool. So to answer your question then, how have I pivoted? I think, I found COVID in a way to be a little bit of a blessing, in the fact that a lot more people are willing to meet online. So it doesn't keep me to a geographical, area. So I've been able to pick up clients. I've got some clients I've never met before, ever. Some I only met recently. And this has all just been facilitated through online, and I think more people willing to meet online. And so, the reason why I was just asking about this, because I've just recently started using bookings, because that's part of the 365 suite that we've got at work. So it's free. So anything free for me is good.
Sorry, can you just explain how that works? Because I haven't heard of that.
So bookings is basically like Calendly, but it's a Microsoft version of Calendly, basically. So what I'll do, if a client then will send me, so basically if I have this thing and I want to do an introductory meeting, I guess like your coffee chat, then I'll try to send them an email. and either with 2 links. One is to book, so if you want to meet a meeting online, or if you want to meet in the office. And then obviously, if you want to meet online, my hours are longer because I can meet in the evening. And also the clientele that I'm looking at, or my niche market prefers evening, meetings anyway. So I try to have a lot more meetings in the evening. Yeah, so they book, and the nice thing is that they look at their calendar, they look at my calendar. It's basically like Calendly, you're just booking it, which is quite nice. Is sometimes during the day you're busy doing something, and all of a sudden you see something pop up to say you see that someone's made a booking. You're like, woohoo! Which is quite nice. And then also send them a reminder the day before about the meeting, and then it integrates into Teams. So then it sends them a Teams link, and then they just have to click on it to go straight into Teams, which is quite nice. So yeah, then having meetings online is quite interesting. But I do think in some ways it is harder, but in some ways it's easier. And also sometimes I've also tried to get now into a bit of a habit of doing some sort of video thing. So sometimes if I know a client is busy, I've got a proposal or something that I want to talk them through, I'll try and record it. I'll just record my screen and talk through the quote, for example, and then send them the video via WhatsApp. And then I know that they'll end up watching that. And then they'll say, oh, okay, cool, thanks. And then they'll, let's go ahead, or what about this or that? And then we can chat through the different, options or any questions. So I found that's also been quite helpful, especially if people are busy. I find that people seem to be busier nowadays. I don't know if it's also working from home. People seem to be a lot more busier. So even just trying to use all these different parts of technology to get some sort of cohesion or to get you to the end point.
Okay, and Ben, any changes like in your process? I know we have chatted a little bit about it, and like your whole onboarding thing and what you're doing.
Yeah, so just I guess some slight changes. That before I was just kind of just do like one meeting and just saying, are you in or you out? But now I'm sort of just trying to do it to like 2 or 3 meetings, and then on the 3rd meeting, sort of saying, well, this is what I can, this is what I can do for you, or this is what we can aim towards. This is what the next 12 months will look like. This is what we'd like to. This is what you said as a priority to me. A priority. This is what you said you'd like to accomplish. So in the first 3 months, let's do this. At 6 months we'll do this. 12 months we'll do this. So at least it provides a little bit of a roadmap for them. I think that also helps a little bit for them to see what the next 12 months is going to be like.
Sorry, and I mean, so I know. Look, we sent you our kind of format of how we onboard, and you've copied some of that now. I mean, how do you feel that is different? How does it work for you, perhaps differently to what you were doing before?
So I think obviously the first meeting is obviously just asking a lot of questions. I just found out a lot about them. What's happened, where they've come from, what got them to the point, what they're trying to achieve. There's a lot of questions, and just explaining the process. What I think has been quite nice is that you can almost demonstrate in a little way that you're different. So for example, like going through the 3 hats, a lot of people can immediately see that most advisors they've dealt with only deal with the financial advice or the product side. So they can see that part. And then also implementing a little bit of the bucket presentation, they can see that a lot of their income is falling out of the bucket. There's nothing building up the bucket. So I think those kind of things straight away sort of show them that you're different. From what I don't know if that helps.
No, sure. Justin, I mean, you've been busy, but I mean, and I know that you've just taken over from your dad, and before he retired, he was trying to implement a lot of, the more like the IWP and the lifestyle way of doing things. How's it been for you? Because you've been mainly, I believe, on the accounting side. So I mean, what's been good for you? What have been challenges and things like that?
Yeah, so just to recap on that, on the Teams thing, I've got nothing against online meetings and that. It's just that obviously when we meet a client, it could be with financials, tax, financial planning, which is a 3 to 4 hour meeting, which I then don't want to be sitting in front of a computer doing a meeting that length, going through a lot of technical stuff. But anyway, that's just, and I maybe need to just break that down and have separate meetings for financial planning and the business related stuff at another time. I haven't been doing or focusing on any onboarding of new clients this year. I haven't wanted any. On the financial planning side, I'll take them on the accounting side because I'm set up there and I know it like the back of my hand. On the fund planning side, we do the lifestyle financial plan. We use the Old Mutual IWP system. And this year I've just been focusing on doing a proper handover with the client. So Daryl's been coming down once a month, and the bigger clients, the guys that warrant decent amount of, well, everybody I suppose warrants a decent amount of effort, but those clients that you would mind falling off the book. So we've just been spending this year making sure that those clients are happy where they are. They happy with the changes happened this year. And yeah, I've kept the systems and everything exactly the same. We haven't been changing anything. We haven't been marketing. We haven't been doing any of that stuff. It's just basically client retention stuff to make sure that we don't have a fallout from the clients, and just generally that they're happy where they are and and who they're dealing with and our processes and the investments and everything. So yeah, it hasn't been a bad year. It's been quite easy because I know the financial planning process. I just haven't been doing it in person with people or with clients. So yeah, it's been kind of nice having Daryl say hold my hand this year, and then Courtney can hold my hand next year. Or I can hold her hand, one of the two.
Now listen, I can imagine it must be really challenging when someone like Daryl leaves the business, because he's obviously been so keen in everything from the starts, in the relationships and setting up everything. So I mean, I can understand that just consolidating is important. We've actually done that too. I don't know if you guys get it, but every few months I kind of get like I wake up in the middle of the night and like I'm thinking, is everyone okay? Have we spoken to everyone? Is everyone happy? And then Catherine and I get her to print out the list and we go through everyone. When did we last speak to someone? And it's almost like our idea of time has kind of changed in COVID. We think we haven't spoken to someone for ages, but it's actually 3 months ago that we spoke to them. So, we've actually trying to institute where previously, if we spoke to clients a minimum of twice a year, that was okay. We speak to a lot more than that, but that would be a minimum. And now we're looking at saying, well, actually, with the onset of COVID, 3 times a year is probably, okay, even if it's just a quick phone call or whatever. And something I must share really quite interesting in consolidating. So, I'm a big believer that we probably shouldn't have more than 100 clients per planner, that you're not going to be able to deal with more relationships. And Catherine did a list for us of all the clients, and we came in at about just under 100, 90 something, I think. And then I said, okay, well, now let's group together I've actually got the list here. Yeah, so active people, about 95. And then there's some, like, let's call them B or C, that we don't really do proper planning with, not many. And then I said, okay, well, let's now group all the people in family groups. In other words, like, you know, where their relations, be it brothers or sisters or aunties and uncles or kids or whatever. And I was like shocked. Catherine got it through to me last week. We're dealing with 49 family units, which is like frightening. I've been doing this for 30 years and we've got 49. It's actually, I'm trying to get my head around it. But it actually just shows you how, you know, when you look at your client base differently, and that came about through us trying to look and consolidate and say, well, like, have we contacted everyone? Are we in contact with everyone? So I'd probably say that's something everyone should do, is just actually have a look, like take a bit of a deeper dive into your client base, see, you know, where you are and who is and isn't paying you, for one. That's quite interesting. And then also see where they all link up, because you'll probably find that your best groups of clients are where you've got great relationships and where they've just preferred, you know, their brother or their sister or their friends or their kids or whatever. So, but yeah, so, okay, Justin, I can relate to that.
Just to expand on that, we obviously, we do that a lot, where we break once a year all of our clients down into value and A, B, C, D gradings and all those things. And ours also, I think we're on about, just remember from last year, I think it was 35 family units. But then we've got the accounting and tax side, which is obviously is a different set. So, but that's included in that grouping. So not just on the fin planning, on the accounting, tax, and financial planning, I think we've got 35 family business groupings of clients that provide 80% of our income. And then there's a 20-odd% of possibly people we could just let go, but we do a clean out every now and again. Those, yeah, but it always seems to work out with the 80-20 principle, where 80% of your business is coming from 20% of your clients. But it's a very small but very valuable handful of people that you've got to look after nicely. And they hang around forever. A lot of those clients have been our clients for, we've been in business 25 years. I think about 20% of those we've had for at least 20 years. So they don't, if they're looked after, they hang around for a long, long time.
Yeah, well, I've just had a look. Our 95 clients produce, okay, Brian's going to shoot me, but if we look at the AUM they have with us, it's almost 85% of our business. So that's quite interesting. And then of that 95 clients, they then compact back into that 40-odd groupings, family groupings. So you know, again, when people in this industry traditionally see each other as competition, you know, even if we just in P, you can realize if you're dealing with 35 families and we're dealing with, say, 50, and, you know, I mean, it's like 85 families. I think there are a few more families in P that need financial help. So, you know, we're really not competition.
Yeah.
Cherise, how has your guys' journey changed over the last year? I mean, obviously, I know that the Nickel brothers are in the process of buying parents out of the business, and then, you know, obviously, your office in Cape Town now as well, and you moving there?
Yeah, so they're still in that process. I don't know much about the handover myself because I'm not in the management. I'm more involved in getting the lifestyle financial planning into the business. So we've been working, we're actually starting to use IWP now, and June and all, Shannon and Stephen's helping with all of that. So we're busy figuring out the system, and must say it's quite something. I know what everyone's been going on about. And yeah, that's the main focus at the moment, trying to get that going, and then just trying to see which clients we can convert to those type of clients, where it's just been product focused, and trying to, when reviews come up, we start talking about them and we say, is this client a client that will be that type of client? So yeah, that's been the focus. So we're trying to control what we can control while we're not in management, if I can explain it like that, before, until it's happened. So yeah, and we're trying to just get our the actual LFP process sorted. We've been talking a lot about that. The three of us actually have a weekly meeting on a Friday for an hour and a half, where we talk about these things internally and discuss how we're going to go forward with this, what can change now, what has to wait till Jason and Brian's taken over. Yeah, that's really, we're controlling what we can control at the moment. And yeah, Brian and I have been studying. He's almost done with his postgrad, so there's also a lot of time going into that, obviously. So yeah, that's where we are. I think we both just want to finish right now, and then focus will shift again.
Yeah, sure, I can understand that. Studying is not fun. Thank God I did it when I was a lot younger. And Cherise, I know Brian shared with us months ago the kind of process that you guys have built. I mean, to what extent have you been able to use that? And obviously it would change. And then I'm just interested in when you guys chat about, so you got it's an EB business, and obviously the individual clients that have stemmed from that. And when you sit and you talk about, is this someone who we can introduce to your version of your lifestyle planning? I mean, what are the kind of things that that straight away say, oh, well, this person's no ways, and this person probably would be a good fit?
I think you can immediately pick up if they engage into the process. And Brian's also, he's the one that's basically been initiating it with his clients, because Jason's also on the operations side, and at the moment we're just also working on client retention. So he says what he hears from a lot of clients is that he's having a conversation with them that they've never had before. So they've never experienced the questions and the things he asked them in that first meeting. And he just explained to them what the process is, and they seem, you just pick up from the language and from the body language as well, how they feel about it, and also how quickly they come back with information that he would need to be able to do the process, and how quickly they respond. So it's kind of it doesn't happen in one day. You have to see how they respond to you over time, with regards to how much they work with you, in a sense of giving you what you need, and the type of answers they give as well, how willing they are to share the information that you're asking for. So I think that's what, yeah. The thing is, most of the clients that any of us have are from David and John. So you know them from a transactional point of view, unfortunately, and sometimes you just haven't met them properly and figured out who they are. So it's quite difficult to just see a name and say they will make a good client, they'll make a bad client. You just have to give them the option and see what they come back with.
Yeah, I can imagine. Also, I had a discussion with someone yesterday where, you know, there's so many differences. In fact, it was with Voluntarba, and we were talking, Chartered was sharing, they've got a kind of a program that they bring new people who join their business through to become eventually associate planners or whatever. It's a 3-year program they've got, and they've got a young lady who, like Chapiso, is in a CISA, I think she's an CISA intern, or she's an intern, and it's amazing how, you know, let's just say it, like in this country, there's this thing between, someone of color versus someone of, and this girl was saying, actually, that's not the issue. The issue is that traditionally their business focuses on retired people, which I kind of imagine yours does too, your individual clients, because it's either people who have left or people who retired from one of your funds. And those traditionally are white old men. So when little Cherise comes popping along, it's like there's this huge difference. Number one, you're female. Number two, you're young.
Yeah, it has been interesting, and it's been interesting trying to change the conversation when you're talking to clients, and they're quite thrown off because they're used to you just talking about funds and that type of thing, and now you're trying to introduce this different thing. And most of my clients that I've got are post-retirement, so there's not much you can plan for them. They have the money they have, either in a living annuity or a life annuity, and you're just trying to make it last effectively, trying to give them, I guess the best you can do is work on a budget with them and try and keep them at a good drawdown rate, but it's not lifestyle financial planning. That type of thing would need to happen pre-retirement. So it's a different conversation. It's trying to get them to actually listen to a person when you're young as well. How it's just that stigma with young people as well. So
what has worked well for you? I mean, we're all different, so we all have different personalities, but I mean, if you're sitting there with a 67-year-old who's dealt with John or before, I mean, so with some you're not going to be successful, with some you are. I mean, where it works well, I mean, what works well for you overcoming that age gap?
Yeah, so I usually try and explain, we'll have a conversation, and I'm quite hectic on client education. So I will try and explain to them why we're doing what we are doing, or why I'm making the change that I am making. And they seem to like that. They seem to like the explanation. So I guess in the past, I don't know, 40, 50, 60 years that people have been getting advice, it's just saying, I'm switching, and then it's like, okay, you know best, do what you need to do. But now we try to give a background, and I try and explain to them where I come from, and I try and find the common ground as well, to some degree, I guess, if there's such a big age gap. And they seem to, they seem to accept it. And most of them, either Brian or Jason has met them before, because it's been a family business, and a lot of people were friends of friends or from somewhere that they know them from outside work, and they'll introduce me as well. So that little introduction helps. And also I think what also helps is if you're just confident in front of them, you're just calm, and you appear to actually know what you're doing. So that helps as well, because if you know what you're doing, or at least if you look like you know what you're doing, then they'll feel confident that you'll know what to do with their stuff.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thanks, man. Thanks for sharing that. Ben, I see you popped your hand up there quickly.
Oh yeah, there was I was going to ask, but Cherise kind of answered the question. I was going to ask, taking those kind of clients that have never experienced it and now showing them lifestyle financial planning, has it been eye-opening for them, or they're just like, oh, okay, or has it not made any difference? But I think, she kind of mentioned it. But also just on the age thing, I think often it's often a thing that we put on ourselves, saying, oh, I can't deal with an older person. I think it's more in our head often. And I know it's hard sometimes just to be confident and not even in a way bring it up or sort of make mention of it. I think you've got to have that confidence, like Cherise said. But also, I mean, there's also some massive advantages for an old person dealing with a younger person. Is that, if your advisor is also 75, I mean, who's going to die first? You or your advisor? It's kind of like a race. But with a younger person, the probability is that we can actually work out the plans that you've set in place. And also, if you're doing estate planning and those kind of things, you can help the family to work it out, which I think is a massive advantage or value proposition for younger people. Plus that we're more I wouldn't say we're more tech savvy and things, but more up to date with things that are happening, you know. And whereas some people can get very stuck in their ways and they just do the same things they have done over the last sort of 30 years. So, you know, we're just going to put it here because that's what I've always done, and that's what it's always going to happen. So I think there is also a lot of advantage, and I think for youngsters we have to just realize that and not think of us, oh well, we can't deal with older people. I think maybe that's a block sometimes that we put in our own heads.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and something that's also helped me from the start was I used to have more of an admin position as well from a paraplanning point of view. So I would get into contact with some of the clients just to, I don't know, sign a form or something like that. So that little introduction now and then, that little bit of contact also introduced me as well. So later on, when I get appointed as the advisor in those terms for them, they've heard of me before, so I'm not a brand new face that came out of nowhere. I've walked the walk with the current advisor taking over, so it's not like I don't know anything about them. So yeah, and I think I've been trying to introduce signing online for them. So I'll ask, do you have an active email? I'm sure you have a cell phone. Let's do this. And then they seem to appreciate that. Yeah, these little things make a difference.
So, Cherie, I mean, are you saying this is something? Are you saying that having worked in admin has actually served you well?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and also because it gives you a background to the clients without being put in front of them, and now you need to help them. Just leading into it has built confidence as well, I would say. Yeah, it definitely, because I'm always saying to Brian and Jason, what I learned in varsity and what happens in real life is very different things. And it frustrates me sometimes because I've spent these years learning these things and now I need to change my mind and change how I do things. And the admin process has helped with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in my day when we started out, you did everything because you couldn't afford an admin person. So in those days, we still had to write out all the application forms and I mean, we didn't even have computers. But yeah, I agree. I think knowing the admin is vital because I think and that's a challenge because I think you do get youngsters like most of you guys who come in and sometimes want to get straight to the planning part. And not having that experience of kind of being on an admin desk, even if it's for a while. I mean, I think that can stand you in good stead. Thanks, Cherise. Andre, you're always very quiet. How things there at AdviceWorks? Where are you actually in? Durban or Joburg or Cape?
Me.
In? Oh, sorry, SFP. Sorry, man. Sorry, but.
Yeah, SFP, Succession Financial Planning.
Yes, that's with Russell. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And where in the country are you again? Okay.
Somerset West.
Somerset West. Okay. Okay. Cool.
He's down the road from me.
Okay. I thought only retired people lived in Somerset West, Brian.
I am retired.
Good for you.
I retired when I moved here.
Retired professional golfer.
Yeah.
If you need a good planner, I know a few good young ones. Okay. Andre, how's it been for you the last year?
Strange. Getting there, but still a lot of issues with doing stuff the old way and trying to transition to doing things the lifestyle financial planning way. Finding myself probably not very far down the road, mainly because I just need to do what the clients want for now, and most of them are just used to things being the old-fashioned way, and I need to do a few transactions where I can and pay the bills. And then I have had 2 clients that I've worked with in a financial lifestyle financial planning style and getting paid differently, and the rest so far are all just wanting the same old.
Okay, and tell me, because you're still fairly new to the group, have you got a a process that that you built, that you take clients through, and I'm just interested. Do you work with I think advanced work SFP? Sorry, man, I keep getting bloody mixed up. But do you guys have access to the people like financial planning coaches and that kind of thing in the group, or not? Or are you pretty much on your own?
I guess if you asked around and you know, had a look for that sort of thing, I've spoken to one or two of the guys who've been around there for a long time and chatted about things, but there's no formal structure for that.
Okay. And I mean, is that something that you would look into if you could?
Definitely. I always enjoy chatting to people and, you know, picking up ideas. Like, it sounds like, you know, like Ben and Charisse were saying, they've taken some of what certain people do and they implement that. And I think that's what I'm continually doing. As soon as I pick up something else that someone else is doing, I try to implement the parts of that I like.
Okay. All right. So, and I'm just, because I don't really know the business. All I know is that Russell's been with him for a while. What does that business actually look like? So, like, what are the benefits of being part of it, and that? I mean, why would someone want to join them? And
from their side, they aim to be the biggest brokerage in South Africa. You know, so they're always out on a recruiting drive, trying to get as many advisors as possible. Sanlam is the biggest shareholder in the business, so they have quite a few guys who've come over from the old Sanlam stable. I think they eventually saw the light of being stuck with one product, and they moved over. So it's great in terms of having access to any product provider basically on the market from that perspective, although that doesn't matter that much when it comes down to doing the LFP. You know, it shouldn't be about the product as much, but to me, that was the first step in going across to them. I was a Liberty Tide agent in the beginning, and didn't like not being able to offer better alternatives when there are things around. And then the admin, there's all the faults and everything like that from Sanlam's side, and their servers and their IT and all that kind of thing. So I guess that's kind of an advantage, that you have that stuff securely stored in terms of compliance. It's a bit painful. I think we've probably got the most comprehensive compliance documents you've ever seen. Can take you 2 to 4 hours on a simple risk or investment case. And then there's a group of, you know, different people that well, back in the day when we had physical meetings and got together, you can bounce a lot of ideas and learn a lot of things off people who've been around the industry for a while. That's pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, it's neither here nor there, I guess, these days. You're pretty much on your own, and you have some backing, which is better than nothing. But yeah, the independent part is nice, and I don't see too much difference. And maybe I just don't know what the others are like, but you know, the AdviceWorks guys or the, you know, masthead associated guys, that kind of thing, I think it's all fairly similar.
And Andre, to what extent have the group, you know, embraced the new way of doing things, the lifestyle or life-centered way of doing things?
Other than Russell, I don't think there's anyone else that I know of who uses any sort of lifestyle financial planning. I think the guys are quite, a lot of them are, I mean, I'm not that young, but I feel young when I hang out there. Most of the guys are your typical old Sanlam worms, you know, and they're pretty set in their ways. And I mean, you know, why would they change when they're making really good money? And look, they're not doing bad work, but there are better ways to do it. So yeah, I pretty much be the only one shouting out of like, why don't you do things differently, you know?
Yeah. Well, look, I'd encourage you
West-
to read. Yeah.
No, sorry, just the one thing to me that makes it like, at the end of the day, it boils down to, it's the same as any other one of these kind of financial planning businesses, is that they send out every month, every 2 months, whatever, the Champions League, which is like a table of how much, and it's terrible. I mean, it's bad when you're working in a tight environment like Liberty and they have PCRs, but at Succession Financial Planning, everything works on actual commission. So they literally send out a list of the top performing guys with how much income they're making. And you can see how many millions some of the top guys are making. You know, in their minds, that's dangling the carrot of you could earn this too, so go out and make all the money. But I think it's kind of terrible that that's still very much a carryover of the old-fashioned industry.
Yeah, look, that when I was at Southern Life between 25 and 30 years ago, that's exactly what it was. I mean, I can still remember some of the names. Morris Rosen. I mean, these guys, they wrote more life policies than I've ever seen clients in my life. I mean, massive money. But that was all. If you were big sales, then you were the best. You were good, you know. So it's actually kind of mind blowing to me that still exists. And I mean, I think it just shows this group and people who are trying to do what we're trying to do, you know, how much this industry still needs to change and how much it can change. And I think therein lies the opportunity. It's just kind of how we work that out. And Andre, I'd encourage you to reach out to anyone in the group that you're comfortable with, like, you know, you mentioned Ben and Cherise, but, you know, anyone, just because it's lonely out there. I mean, that's one of the reasons we started this. So it's you know, it's a safe place, like Justin saying, well, you know, we haven't done much, we've been consolidating. There's no judgment here. I mean, that's where you are, and that's what it is. And you know, in our careers, we're all going to be in those different places at different times. So thanks. Yeah. Ferdy, you next. Are you there?
So can I just add there, Dirk, that
Sure.
I don't think lifestyle financial planning means that someone also has to just be paying you a fee every month as well. We can still be doing a transaction here and there as well, but we're taking them through this process and looking at what's right for the client and doing everything in the right way. So I think, you know, we can still take clients through a lifestyle financial planning process and also do a few transactions in the process along the way, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, look, I agree. And I mean, you know, we discussed this a couple of months ago where, I mean, you know, the reason we started this was to help young people who are trying to do things differently. And you know, you get hooked on how we're getting paid or and all that kind of thing. And yes, it's important, but I think still a far more important thing is, you know, I'm 30 years, we're dealing with 50 families. I mean, our reach is nowhere near where it should be, you know. So there's a lot worse things than, you know, doing a transaction and earning some commission to put food on the table. You know, if you don't take the client's not going to get the benefit in any case because they don't discount it back to the client. You know, the industry is rotten and we can change it, but we're not going to change it, I believe, by like running on, you know, into battle against thousands with like 3 of us. You know, we're going to get stuffed up. So there's different ways of doing it. And I think in our own little way, we're all doing it. So, I mean, Ben, I would agree with you. But I think at the end of the day, we've all got to be happy and comfortable with what we're doing. If what we're doing resonates with us, then, you know, I mean, you don't have to prove to people that you're being honest. You just have to know yourself that you're being honest. Yes, Andre.
Yeah, sorry. Just to maybe clarify what I meant by that, it's not necessarily the method of getting paid, although that is part of it. It's more the fact that you're going in and you're doing whatever the client is asking for right here, right now, and in that sense, transacting, which for me, most of the time at the moment, it is commission on risk products, and then, you know, ongoings on your investments, versus going in and going through a whole process of meetings over a few months, because they're not ready to go down that road yet. And if they're not ready, then I can't really afford to spend that amount of time with people and not get paid in any way. And I guess that's where I'm, for myself, drawing the difference between the financial planning as we know it and then the lifestyle financial planning. Am I just going in and getting what you've asked for right here, right now? Or am I looking at everything and spending time getting to know you, going through a whole process? That's how I draw the line.
Yeah, Andre, I think that's fine. I mean, the reality is that you're aware of that you're trying to do things differently. You're trying to get there, and you know everyone moves at their own pace. So again, there's no judgment. I mean, just the fact that you're trying to get there, you will get there. So you just really got to stick at it. You know, it's tough, but it will happen. It will happen in time. Freddie, you still with us?
Yeah. It seems like my camera isn't working or something, but yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, so as you know, I've been transitioning through from accounting to financial planning, and yeah, so the past 18 months has been a real journey for me. Yeah, where I'm at the moment is few accounting clients and a few financial planning clients. But the financial planning clients are are my own, and I have to find them on my own and start from scratch with that. So yeah, all these conversations that you're having is really interesting for me because I'm struggling with all of the things that you're talking about. Asking for fees. Should I ask a fee for the lifestyle financial planning program or the whole package, or should I just sell a product and tell you what I can deliver on and all of those things? So yeah, I'm having conversations with the clients and yeah, just going through the motions and seeing where I can add the most value to them, and hopefully they will refer their friends and so on, so that we can build a business. Yeah, so that's where I am. So I did a course, one course with a guy from Australia that I found through the IFA net, and yeah, so he taught me about having philosophies for risk planning, philosophies for investments, and so on. And if you've got your philosophies in place, then you can just have those conversations with the clients. And that is almost like a process. Just go through how you're thinking and what is important to you and how you want to get to what's important to them and build the whole plan, because you know, every client's different and you want to do it in a different way. So yeah, so I did that, and it was a great course, but it's not that practical. It's not the South African guy that goes through what you must do in your first meeting, what you should do in your second meeting, what's the process like, when does compliance come in, when do you send the documents for signage, and when to have that conversation about the fees or the commission, and when do you do a review and all of those things. So yeah, at the business where I'm at, I don't know, I don't want to learn the process that they going through. So I feel like they don't have a process at the moment. So I'm trying to build my own process and own documents and own templates and going through everything like that. So yeah, it's a building phase for me still, and I'm looking for people to help me and coach me through this, and yeah, just to help me get to a place where I can deliver better financial planning, so that the clients actually want the type of financial planning that I want to deliver on. So yeah, that's where I'm at the moment.
Thanks, Ferdy. And just tell me how when you try to have the more lifestyle chats with potential clients, how's that gone? The good and the bad. What have been things that have worked, and how has it worked for you? And where have you had perhaps problems?
Yeah, so it was a lifestyle choice for myself, going towards the financial planning and why I want to do it personally. So the conversations is really great. If they come back to you and say, like, nobody has asked me this, and this is a great process, and I love the way that you're doing everything, and so on. So that's really fulfilling at the moment. So that's been great. But the time that it takes to go through all the conversations and getting to know the client, and me trying to build a book and generate an income and so on. Yeah, so the good has been the conversations really great, and it feels like I'm adding value, and the client sees it and they love it. But then the bad side is I don't know when to charge a fee, how to charge a fee. Should I just earn the commission, or what should I do? And it takes, as I said, it takes about 4 meetings for me to know the client, get the information from them, and start building a plan, and then I can get to some kind of income or fees discussion. And yeah, that's been a long time. And yeah, there hasn't been clients that said, no, I don't want to do it like this. But there has been clients that's difficult to get the information from. So now it's been like 2 or 3 months that I have been in conversation, but I haven't gotten to the point where, yeah, asking them a fee or earning a commission from a product, something. So yeah, that's a difficult part.
And Ferdy, are you talking to people your age or across the spectrum?
Oh no, any age. Well, mostly. So the referrals I get is mostly my own age, through the business, through the other divisions. So I've been lucky with that there, and it's obviously a really easier conversation with the guys my age and younger and so on. But yeah, I've had referrals for people retiring and already retired and so on. So yeah, it's from all over the place at the moment.
Okay, thanks. Same thing to you. I think you can reach out to anyone, yeah, if you want to discuss, what they're doing, if what you've heard resonates with you. So I think do that.
Don't worry,
Cool,
Freddie.
man.
We're all also facing the same problem. Everyone wants lifestyle financial planning, but no one wants to pay for it. So it's not a unique problem that you're running into.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It just looks like you guys have it sorted, and it's just me tailing in.
Yeah, and what you've got to realize, and I mean, the reason I address this is because it's quite simple. If you look at a lot of the people who who maybe make a lot of noise about this and about how we earn our fees, flat fee versus other AUM or whatever. A lot of those people are coming from a world where they've already got a business, they've got a book, and they're transitioning. So it's a lot easier, when you have an existing client base and then you slowly start introducing this. I mean, this is what we're doing. We can't bankrupt the business, for, to be Joan of Arc. We've got to do it in a responsible manner because a lot of our clients, I mean, we had a meeting with a client the other day, and I said, oh, by the way, we're reducing your fee because of this. He said, oh, okay. And he carried on talking about something else. Like, he honestly did not, for him, it wasn't a big deal at all. It wasn't a big deal. He's been through the whole process. He knows we meet every 3 months. We talk about this or that. There's a plan that he's sticking to. So it was like, I thought he was going to be like, oh, you guys are great. It was like, hey, just carried on. So for us, it's a big thing. We carry this bag of bricks on our shoulders, thinking that we're evil if we earn a commission or a fee. And I'm telling you that it's not the end of the world. And also, if you look at a lot of the people who are dictating this, a lot of them are coming from a place where, and I mean, I can tell you, I mean, a great guy, David Haynes in Australia, written some great books. They're selling programs online now. You know, Dave got together with about 12 other financial planning businesses, and they combined and sold their businesses for hundreds of millions Aussie dollars, hundreds of millions. He's a great guy, but like they're pushing this whole new way of being and all coaching and earning and all the rest. But he's made his money. You know, it's very easy when you've made your money. So I'm not criticizing him at all. He's a great guy. But a lot of the people who are pushing this are people who've already they've made their money, or they're very comfortable. So for you youngsters who are starting off and you're trying to do this, it's impossible, and it's not your fault. It's because the industry doesn't allow you to do what you do. And I know I see what's his name has left, Brian's left, but I mean it's you know, in the end of the day, what I'm saying is we've got to do what resonates with us, what works for us. You know, and again, as I've said, the industry is going to be far poorer losing good people like yourselves than, you know, you earning the odd commission or AUM to actually be able to pay the bills. It's really not as long as clients know what they're paying and they're getting fair value, then that's fine.
I think that's so important is that they know what they're paying, but also what are we delivering? I mean, if they weren't dealing with you, they would be dealing with, they'll still be paying 1% at Alexander Forbes. You know, Alexander Forbes is straight 1% no matter what, you know. So they can be paying 1% there and getting a balance once a year, or they could be running through this program with, and often we charge probably less. You know, I don't know why we should actually be charging more because we're delivering some more. But you know, we actually then in ourselves charge less, so they're paying less and they're getting so much more bang for their buck, if you want to call it that way, because of the process that we're taking them through. And I think I've just realized that as well, is that we are offering something valuable, and we shouldn't be afraid of it. I mean, yeah, it's they're going to get ripped off somewhere else. Anyway.
I mean, I'm actually part of it's like a starting group. There's a website called Dosh Guide, and the whole idea is that it's fee-based financial planning. Okay, and we had a meeting the other day, and the feedback they're getting is, so we had to put down an annual fee, which I could do, and then a month or an hourly fee, or a monthly fee and an hourly fee. And I don't want to do the monthly fee or the hourly fee because I know that doesn't work out. I mean, that's why accountants and lawyers are battling. And there's a whole book in it. But the feedback they got is that people, when they looked at the hourly fee, that like wasn't cool. They didn't want to do that. You know, like $2,000 an hour or whatever. They don't want to pay that. And when they looked at the monthly fee, they weren't even going to consider that. You know, and the monthly fee I put down was kind of, you know, very average. I mean, when I know what we do, there was not even a consideration. So, you know, it could also be that the people that are being attracted to that kind of a site are people who actually don't want to pay. You know, they want it for free. So, you know, somewhere between there, the perfect world as some see it, and you know, the full-on commission, you know, is kind of us. And I think, you know, as long as we're adding value to people, and people do need us. I heard on a podcast, someone said the other day, if all we needed was more information, we'd all be billionaires with six-packs. So the fact, you know, all the information in the world isn't going to make someone successful. We still need people to help us and guide us in the right direction. And I think that's where our job lies. Alex, I want to pick on you just because, I mean, you've been with us for a while now, but you've also come from the dark side.
What would you want to know?
No, well, you know, the transition and how it's worked, and obviously you now, you're dealing with, you've obviously sat in plenty of meetings, you know, with myself, with older clients, and now that you're dealing with your peers, you know, things that work and don't work, and just experiences you had.
No, I think, so for those who don't know, I was working at Warwick for a year before I started client care. And I think that's what Dirk refers to when he says the darker side, which is, I think, putting it very lightly. But yeah, I mean, I think somebody mentioned earlier that they had that Champions League where, you know, the most amount of money got published by the top brokers. It was exactly the same. And that carrot got dangling there. And, you know, at that time, I must have been 23, 24. And now they're expecting me to go to their target target market is old retirees, and they're expecting a 23, 24-year-old to go to bowling clubs and get 75-year-olds to trust me with their life savings after I've been working in the industry for maybe 3 weeks. So that was never going to pan out well. So yeah, I saw the light and started working here. And I think the 2 or 3 years that I worked with Dirk just by sitting in meetings with clients before I started seeing any of my own clients was hugely beneficial, because now I sit in meetings with my clients, and yeah, I mean, you've just got so much more confidence to be able to give advice and have that proper personal interaction and connection with them. So I mean, it's a completely different ball game, and the conversations that we're having now compared to what I was having. I mean, just for instance, I would go have one meeting with one client for about 5 minutes and get back to the office, and my manager at Warwick would be, so how much business did you sign? So I mean, versus what we're doing now, it's completely different. So I mean, that's the way the industry is changing, and I think that's the way that it has to be.
And Alex, just the conversations you're having with your clients around the softer side. I mean, because often we can like imagine someone who's been through a bit of life, been through a bit of cuck, that they're like, okay, I got stuff to talk about. But often we would think that 28-year-olds are, they've got a clean slate.
Yeah, I mean, on that, everyone has their troubles or their problems, regardless of how old they are. I've got a client who is a psychologist in Durban, and she's just buying a new house, and it's a bit of panic. And through the softer side, through the questions that we're asking, she made the comment. She said, "Oh, it's cool to be on the other side of the psychology part of it." And I'm not claiming for a second that we do psychology, but it's just that line of questioning and that line of interacting with clients that it doesn't go unnoticed. So I know it is easier to say that younger people haven't gone through the same life experience as others, but I mean, buying a house or having a family, those are still big decisions that people need to chat through. Last week Friday, one of our clients, his fiance got offered a new job, and she got sent a contract that has benefits. And the first thing she was saying that the first thing she saw when she saw the contract was, Alex, she needs someone to just bounce ideas off, or to consult with someone to set her mind at ease. And I mean, we're not going to make any money from that, but the fact is that that client care was the first point of call when they get these decisions that they have to make is really reassuring, because it means that we're not just talking the talk, we actually are really walking the walk.
And I think, Alex, commercially we are going to make money out of that, but it's just going to take us a few years,
Sure.
And the fact that I think youngsters are having these conversations with other youngsters. I mean, that is the future of the industry. I actually listened to a podcast this morning. I don't know if you guys listen to Louis, but he's got some really good ones on there. Listen to that Little Miss, that English girl. Anyway, yeah, it was really good. But you guys, and they asked her what's going to change in this industry, and she said she was standing at this conference in front of all these typical financial planners, old males, and she said, when this lot die, then the industry is going to change. And I think, I realize, hopefully I'm not that old, but I realize that's where, the future is with the youth, because there's so few people of my generation who are able to change the way of thinking. I had a chat with a chap who runs the ASISA program yesterday evening, and he's frustrating because he's asking, and he rattled off all these businesses in PE that he's spoken to about hosting an intern, and they're big businesses. I mean, you just Google top businesses in PE and they'll all be there, every single one of them. And he said that basically we agree. They're interested in the economic side of business. They just want to make money. They're not interested in giving back at all. And I think, that's what's important, that, even for you guys to remember as well. And the difficulty with the industry is so Alex is talking about spending time with clients, because Alex is on a salary, and Andre, I mean, you're talking about you're on the other side where you can't afford the time to spend time with clients, and that's the vicious circle. Because the reality is, until we do spend time with clients, we're never going to get to have the conversations that we really want to have. June, I want to ask you, because you've been working with us and you've added massive value to our business over the years, you and the other Shannon and the rest of your team. What changes have you seen in the last year and a half in the people that you're dealing with? And then I know that you guys are always out there trying to find new partners. And has there been any change in that?
Yeah, I think, Dirk, it is a process for me, but there's definitely massive changes that I've been seeing, and it's mainly because planners are really trying to change their processes. So it's one thing to have a process that's documented, but it's a different thing to actually practically implementing it. So for me, the biggest thing is that they work on it. But then when it comes to practical implication, there might be a few challenges. And I think it might be, old habits, it might be the type of client, but I think, a lot of the planners kind of mentioned some of those challenges today as well. But I mean, I'm enjoying it, and planners are really open. They definitely see the benefit of it. So where I am supporting is really practical implication at this stage, to make sure that whatever processes are developed, that we do kind of fine-tune them all the time, make it more, to their own personal need, but then also be true to lifestyle financial planning. And I think a biggest thing for me as well is, once you've got your process, is then to move on to a review meeting. Because I've also heard a lot of, like for instance, Justin mentioning, it's not onboarding new clients at all anymore. So it's about servicing existing clients. And then how do we then look at that process and make sure, because if it's existing clients and you haven't onboarded them yet, or how do you then make sure that the implementation is still true to lifestyle financial planning? Because in the review meeting, there needs to be some changes and habits that change, the type of language that you use, to educate your clients in terms of lifestyle financial planning. But for me, there are massive changes all around, Dirk, that I see. It's baby steps, but I do see the changes.
And do you see that coming from new younger planners or older planners?
I think that's an interesting observation for me. But it's almost like your newer, younger planners, it's easier to adopt, lifestyle financial planning and different ways of doing things. And I think it's because they haven't been doing things for many, many years. When you form an old habit, it's very difficult to break from it. So new, younger planners are more open to new things, and trying new things. So that's just my observation.
Okay, great, thanks. Tapiso, I haven't picked on you. So I think just share, because a lot of people aren't aware of the ASISA program. And then, obviously you've studied, you've got the 3-year degree, you're busy with a postgrad, and you've started the internship. And obviously, I don't need to point out you from a very different background to what we are in many ways. How has your exposure to the lifestyle planning way of doing things been different to what perhaps your expectations were when you were introduced to the industry, both through studying and then also, through ASISA?
Well, I don't know. Well, how to put this? I will say, firstly, I was blessed as compared, because with the ASISA program. So what ASISA has its institution, like an academy, where it brings graduates either from become accounting, marketing, financial planning, and then they train them, and then different hosts or different companies or financial planning companies, then they will interview them and then hire them and offer that 12-month internship program. And we have like a group of other interns interning from various companies. And when we have a chat, it's just being thrown at the deep end without any sorts of guidance. Some of the companies are just like what Alex, former company, did previously. Like they will just be about targets and targets and targets. For me, it's been a privilege. I don't think there are many other companies that do financial planning, lifestyle financial planning like you guys do. So for me, that was a privilege in its way, because then I got to learn it right in the first time. For the first time, I mean, June spoke about it's easier for us to develop like good habits when you're fresher on the industry. So for me, it's been like a privilege, because I was able to like grasp into how we do things correctly the first time. Now, the only downside when Dirk, you mentioning my background is that most people of color and others don't know financial planning as to what it does. They only know as like it entails only funeral policies and stuff like that. Other brokers will come and sell them funeral policies, and that's that. And there's a huge market that has been not covered or untapped. So there's been a problem, because now you have to start from an educational level. So you have to educate them first so that they will know. I mean, it's hard to say, I need this, if you don't know anything. You don't know what you don't know. So you have to start from educating them. Then they were like, okay, I need that, I need that, I need that, because now you get to uncover all this kind of problems that they face. And some of them, they just okay. They just okay by just moving. They don't even think what's going to happen post-retirement or 65. And some of them have been living in debt, and that's what they know, have to also, for instance, I'm a young graduate doing that. And then you also have this black tax. There's a thing called black tax. So how do you go about it? How do you manage taking care of your family as a young graduate, taking care of your mother as a young graduate, taking care of your if you're the first person in the family to be employed, how do you go about it and actually plan your future as well? How do you marry the two? So young black graduates or young black people that are fresh in industries, whether it's a teacher, doctor, or whatever, or engineer, they're facing what we call black tax. How do you navigate that situation? It's a big problem for us. So yeah, I've been trying to have conversations about the few people. Some of them have been taken advantage of. Some of them have been put into certain investments without proper planning, without understanding who they are and understanding their background. And like I said, one of the privileges that I have is that in lifestyle financial planning, we get to unpack that, right? We in one of the meetings where I said in, Alex will ask you your first memory of money. You'll find that they don't even have, in my community, some they just don't have. The first memory of money is when a loan shark came in and took the TV because mom was owing someone else. So they don't have that positive first memory of money. So therefore, their behavior towards money will be different from the rest of other people. So there's a huge untapped market that can be helped and educated, and we can add value to that.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. It was actually interesting on the podcast this morning. It's Michelle Hoskin. She's called Little Miss Wow. And she actually spoke about a course that they have in the UK around helping people who've been financially abused. And that's from a first world country, but it's similar. It's people who who are being used. And obviously, Chippy saw the situation here is completely different. And I think it's not something that's going to be solved easy, but we've got to chip in. But thank you for sharing. And then just one last thing. Yes, sorry, Ben.
On that, what I found has just been quite helpful there is that in a way you got to meet them where they're at. You don't say, hey, I want to do lifestyle financial planning with you, because they won't grasp that. But often what they'll, it'll come across if you say, what are your dreams or your goals? They say they want to generate wealth or they want to have a wealth for generations, and then that's a great point in. Say, cool, that's awesome. I want to also help you to generate this wealth. And then you come into in the lifestyle financial planning from there. And then you can look at then your budget. And so how are we going to get you there? Where's the money going? And I think those then conversations, you're sort of going lifestyle financial planning, but just meeting them, maybe you're just wording it differently. And I found that's been a massive, and sometimes it's just, it needs a little bit of a wake up call as well. When some people say they want to retire in 10 years time, but they're not doing anything towards retirement at the moment. You say, okay, so how is that going to happen? Was the money going to just fall out the sky in 10 years time or what? And then they're sort of like, oh yeah, I suppose I need to do something about it. And then, and then it kind of, just, I think that it helps a lot, is using what works or the language that they're using, but then helping and educating along the way makes a massive difference in that kind of market.
Yeah.
Well, what I found out is that the two biggest problems were lack of education, and actually three: lack of education, black tax, and being realistic with your goals. We can't talk about the question will be, how do you marry the two, wealth creation and black tax? How do you start planning for the future where you have to correct whatever, because we have that sense of obligation where you're like, you know what, my mom is not working, I'm coming from this background and I'm an engineer. Now I have to build, before even thinking about buying a car, I have to fix home, I have to build my mom a proper house, or I have to take my little sister to university or whatever. Even before you then unpack their own personal goals, how do you marry the two? That's one problem. And then the lack of education will come into, most of us are young, so the social media, Instagram. So Alex buys a car. We went to the same universities, and Alex gets to buy the car. And now I have this responsibility. We can call it social responsibility, and I also have the desire to buy a car. So you then have to educate them, make those trade-offs, and then help them to say, you know what, we'll start here, and then so that there are priorities and all that, we'll start to this point, and then we'll get to that point. And I feel like that's where I can, and the rest of us can add value when we address that type of market.
Yeah, I would imagine that also the definition of wealth would be different for different people, whereas you almost need to go through owning all the stuff to actually work out when you're older that's actually not wealth. Wealth is your family, your children's health, and that kind of stuff, and security. But yeah, thanks for sharing. And I think, Ben, what you brought up is important too. And one thing that's worked really, really well for our business is building these processes, because it's kind of everyone goes through the process. But at the same time, what we realize more and more is you've got a process, but every now and then you've got to be flexible. And like you say, you've got to meet people where they are. And I think with Andre as well, that's something you should consider is, and Ferdy is, I can see a mistake I made perhaps at some time was being too rigid in the process. At the same time, it was really good that we did do that, because it's very easy to fall off the wagon. But at the same time, when you understand why the process is there, what what the important principles are that you want to get across to potential clients. The reality is we can't serve everyone. And if people don't find what we know is important, then we're probably not going to work with them, and that's okay. So move on to the people who are. But yeah. Geez, guys, we've made an hour and a half. thanks. I think it's been an interesting session, and thank you everyone for sharing. And again, I'm just saying, anyone reach out to anyone. You know, if you want help with anything, or just to have a chat. That's what this is all about. It's just a place to feel safe and ask stupid questions, because there aren't any stupid questions. And yeah, and if there's anything that you would like to discuss further, or any ideas you have for any of the next sessions that we have, please, you know, drop me a line, because really what it's about is trying to help everyone, you know, just to get better at what they're doing. And even though we're all in different stages in different situations, I still believe we can all learn from each other. So yeah, anything else from anyone? Okay, guys. Have a lucky week. Those of you watching Humans Under Management tomorrow, enjoy. And we'll chat in a month's time.
You must think of some difficult questions for your session.
That's recorded, so.
Yeah.
Okay, cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye bye.